Gordon Johnson is ready to run his victory lap, and I'm ready to react to it here today. What does Gordon Johnson have to say about Tesla stock and where the stock's going? We'll watch that one. I'll react to that one. This should be interesting. I knew he was going to show up sooner or later, and sure enough, 12 hours ago, there he is. And then I want to react to this video from 2 hours ago. Tesla tumbles. Is there more to the story than Twitter distractions? And talking about kind of the fundamentals, valuation, things like that, and kind of share perspective. Now, if you're somewhat newer to Tesla stock, you might not be super aware of Gordon Johnson, but this is a gentleman that's been bearish on Tesla for years. And I mean literally years, even from back when I was getting into stocks, like 18, 19, like literally he was bearish back then. And obviously the company's done amazing. The stock price has done amazing. The revenues have done amazing. The margins have done amazing. The net income. And basically the company's broken through and done things that he never foresaw, obviously. And he was very, very anti the stock the whole runaway, right? But now we have a year where Tesla stock's done absolutely awful. It's down over 65%. There's a tremendous amount of worries about the economy, about Elon Musk and Twitter and everything else that's going on, right? And so I figured that Gordon Johnson was going to show up and run a victory lap here. So let's hear what he has to say, and I'll react to it. And I'll kind of give my opinion. He might make some good points, he might make some bad points. Anyways, I appreciate everybody joining me as always for these videos. 19,900 plus subscribers. I think we're getting close to 20,000. I don't know who will be the 20,000th subscriber, but it's probably going to happen pretty soon. So I appreciate everybody that subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you got an opinion on anything in the comments section.
Lucid's down a lot more. Meta's down a lot more. Netflix was down a lot more. A lot of tech stocks are down. You've been bearish for a lot of reasons on Tesla for a long time, Gordon. Some of them are coming home to roost. What's the primary catalyst for where the stock is right now, down from the highs, in your view, Gordon?
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me. So I think it's fundamental. I know a lot of people are focused on Twitter, and we can talk about that. But let me just run it down for you. So right now, you're talking about a company that has engaged. Yesterday, they did another price cut in China. 5 price cuts in China this quarter. 1 price cut in the U.S., a price cut in Europe. Despite that fact, today,
they've done a lot of price raises in the past as well, so do keep that in mind.
We got China sales. They were down 20% week over week. They missed the consensus estimate by 21%. Why is that important? U.S., Europe, China. In the third quarter, China was 72% of the total market. So you're talking about a company engaging in margin slashing price cuts. But here's the problem. They're running 2 plants at 20% utilization and Shanghai at 93% utilization. So you're talking about a company, it's just a car company that has built too much capacity that they can't sell. Yet they're valued at more than the next 4 largest automakers combined. So what's happening is institutional investors are simply, beyond just listening what Elon Musk is saying and sell-side analysts are saying, they're looking at this data, and I think they're becoming very concerned. Because if you look into next year, they're running down their backlog.
Okay, he's running through a lot of points here. First one, let's address this one. The whole... they have too much capacity, essentially. I call BS on that. And at the end of the day, they've been able to get more and more from their factories over time. Obviously, if you look at Fremont produces more vehicles nowadays than it was ever supposed to produce, to be quite frank. And so I don't, Tesla's on a runway to going to 5 million cars a year and eventually, hopefully, 10 million plus cars a year, right? And so they need as much space as possible to produce as many vehicles as possible. And if you look at those facilities, they've been maxed out over the past 1 to 2 years. That's why they had such a big backlog, because if they would have had more gigafactories, they would have produced even more vehicles and got them out there, but they didn't, right? And so I think you could look at this like in a short-term perspective and be like, they have too much capacity. If you think numbers are going to go down or they're going to stagnate in 2023, that's fair. But at the end of the day, if this company is going to a place where they're going to sell 5 million cars a year, 10 million cars a year, which is where they're likely headed over the next 5 to 10 years, right? They're going to need actually a lot more gigafactories than what they have right now. This isn't even nearly enough. Their current facilities can maybe produce 1.5 million cars-ish a year, maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe they could squeeze out 2 mil. If this company's on the way to 5 to 10 mil, that's not enough. Just simple math, right? So I just think that's a very important point to kind of push back on there.
Backlog in China has collapsed to nothing. Their backlog in the U.S. and Europe down a lot. So backlog down, margin slashing price cuts, yet they can't sell out their capacity. That's a big problem for a company valued for tremendous growth.
Gordon, whenever you're on, people say, what is he talking about?
And it's not valued for tremendous growth anymore. I mean, you look at the stock, it's closed at about $137 here today. Even if you have very conservative numbers, very conservative. I'm not even talking bullish numbers. This company is trading at something like a 30-ish, maybe even in the 20s. Let's call it 20s or 30s, depending upon how conservative your numbers. Trailing 12-month PE, if you're talking about this current quarter we're in, plus the last 3 quarters, or if you're even looking at the forward, right? Forward, the company is expected to get much more profitable, and that could be debated. But at the end of the day, you're likely buying the stock with something in the 20s or 30s when it comes to PE. That's not high. That's not high for a company that likely is still in the early days of its growth factor, right? So that is something to keep in mind.
Tesla sells every car that it makes. Where do they get that notion?
Yeah, that's John, just want to say, that's dead wrong. They're guiding Q4 production ahead of sales. And in Q3 and Q2, they produced more cars than they sold. That is the quintessential definition of not selling everything you're making. Inventory in China right now is around 35,000 units. What's healthy is 10.5 thousand units. In the U.S., they're engaging in price cuts, yet they can't sell out their production. So whoever's saying that, I don't know where they're getting that from. Again, they're producing more than they're selling for 3 quarters in a row, which is a record. And the problem is, on top of all of this, right, you're talking about a company that's not running their factories at full capacity, yet they can't sell what they're producing. Elon Musk is engaging in far-right conspiracy theories on Twitter. But even before that, you have a racial lawsuit at their Fremont factory. You have a guy who said he was going to deliver ventilators, who delivered CPAP machines. It's just, I think that the people that Tesla's focused on, their core constituency of liberals who thought, EVs were going to save the world, I think they're moving away from Elon Musk. And even if he leaves Twitter, he's still going to be the CEO of Tesla. So I don't think that cloud/overhang disappears. And I think that when you see the Q4 delivery numbers, and you see, more importantly, the Q1 delivery numbers, I think the stock's going to come under tremendous pressure.
Yeah, so, okay. I think he makes a very interesting point there about, Tesla's customers being people that just want to save the planet and those sorts of things. And there's certainly some sort of segment of Tesla's customers. But let's be very clear. The main reason people buy a Tesla, why do I own Teslas, right, is because we view it as the best car out there. There's nothing I'd rather drive than my Plaid or my Model X. I could drive anything. Those are what I choose to drive. That's why people choose Tesla. I wish I could say, it's just for the planet and it's just because I want to be EV and I want to be, a good little angel. No, it's because it's the best vehicles. Bottom line. And so I think that's, for most people out there, like, that's why they buy a Tesla at the end of the day. Like, it's cool, we're transitioning to EVs and all sorts of things, but why aren't the other auto manufacturers selling, 1 million plus EVs a year like Tesla is? Because Tesla makes that good of a product. They have that amazing of a product. So I think that's just something to kind of keep in mind there that I think Gordon Johnson's missing. And I mean, for right now, you got to understand, a man like that, he gets to run his victory lap right now, and we have to let him run his victory lap. The bears, all these folks that have been bearish on either stocks or the market in general, they get to run their victory lap right now. And they've got probably, depending upon how far the Fed goes, they got probably 6 to 12 months more of running this victory lap, essentially, right? And as bulls, you just got to let them do their thing. Like, this is their time. This is their time to shine. Gordon Johnson's been wrong for like a million years on this stock. This is his chance to run his victory lap. Let him run his victory lap, okay? We'll get back to the fundamentals and everything in 2023 and move from there, right? But we know, obviously, it's going to be a tough year in terms of Tesla to hit all their numbers because the economy looks like it's falling off the rails. If you saw the FedEx numbers, that definitely, as far as the revenue, it didn't come in anywhere close to where it was supposed to be. So anyways, that's just kind of something to keep in mind. Let the bears run their victory lap. This is their time. Next video up here. Tesla tumbles. Is there more to the story than Twitter distractions? More than 8% today. The worst performer in the S&P 500. Its worst day for Tesla since early October. The stock is now down 29% this month, 61% this year. It is the worst performance ever by the stock across both of those time frames. Ever by the stock. This year. It is the worst 61%? Performance. 61% this year. It is the worst performance ever by the stock across both of those time frames. Are there more shoes to drop, Dan? Or, Carter put out a note. He said,
this is time to nibble here.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, look, the stock is obviously pretty pressed to the downside. But what's going on here is the guy who's the CEO of the company is selling stock. And he's been selling stock aggressively. And why is that? On the date that he closed.
Wait, first off, everybody's got to understand before we listen to this gentleman, his name, if I recall, is Dan Nathan, okay? This man despises, and I'm using the term despises Elon Musk. Hates his guts, okay? And if you've heard this man talk about Elon Musk many times, he hates him, okay? There's a difference between disliking somebody and hating somebody, okay? And this man definitely despises and hates Elon Musk if you listen to him over the years when he talks about him, okay? So just keep that in mind.
On the Twitter deal for $44 billion, Tesla stock was $227 million. We've been saying this on this desk, that Tesla is on the hook for all of this, Tesla's shareholders. Because right now, what's really likely happening is there's a margin call. And the people that he pledged the stock to are selling the stock to raise the capital for it. And so think about all of that that's gone on just because he wanted to be the guy who owns Twitter. I mean, it's just that simple. So to me, I feel sorry for a lot of these Tesla shareholders, the fundamental ones who believe in him in the long-term story. But if you look at the holders...
You feel sorry for them?
I feel sorry for them because he's been asleep at the wheel. He's sold them a bill of goods. I've said it on the show. The guy's a liar, okay? Just flat out. And he said he was done selling stock how many times over the last year? It's just a fact. I mean, you can look at me, you can roll your eyes, you can tell me whatever. He lied to his shareholders. And he has been not there for them over the last 2 months when the stock has massively underperformed the NASDAQ over the last 2 months that we've seen a huge rally. So to me, I feel sorry for them. But the rest of the shareholders, you know what's really interesting? They're all indexers. And 2 years ago, on November 16th, the S&P added Tesla to the S&P 500. The stock doubled, and the stock has round-tripped that entire price. It's trading exact price of where it was on November 16th when S&P said it's going into the index. So, sorry, people.
By the way, the 8% drop today in part because a couple of banks lowered their price targets. Evercore cutting it by a third to $200 a share.
All right, first off here, before we get into more of this, no need to apologize to Tesla shareholders. Sure, are there some folks that got into stock over the past year or two that are down huge? Absolutely. But keep in mind, a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, are up massively on their positions, including me, who have owned the stock for many, many years. And so you got to diverge between the folks that have been in the stock in the last 12 to 18 months and the folks that have owned the stock for many, many years. And the people that got in way before me are up even a way, way bigger percent. And so don't feel too bad for people. Like, this has been one of the best stocks in the stock market over the past decade. We know that, right? It's been a tremendous stock over the past 5 years. And it's been one of the best performing stocks over the past 5 years and 10 years. So unless you got in the stock like in the past 12 to 18 months, you're likely sitting on massive gains. I think that's just some food for thought there about this whole, like, let's throw them a pity party type thing. That's more for stocks that have never performed, right? And I certainly own a few of those that, since they went IPO, they just went down, down, down. Tesla's not one of those. Let's not throw a pity party for anybody in this situation.
Daiwa cutting it to 177 from 240. It's definitely Elon Musk related. Brand destruction over at Tesla, distraction. Those are the reasons, Karen.
Right. I think with Twitter not doing well and that debt being very expensive, it's understandable that he would want to equitize some of it if he could. So maybe he's looking to buy back some of the debt.
Right.
Needs to get the money from Tesla shares being sold. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do think that he has damaged the brand. I don't know that it can be, I don't know. Let's say.
Don't be surprised if those numbers flip and 13 go to buy. You saw those numbers there. Don't be surprised if this number goes here, this number goes here, and maybe, more add to the sell. So maybe it goes to like 20 holds or something like that, 13 buys, and, maybe 10 sells or something like that. Don't be surprised at all.
I do think that he has damaged the brand. I don't know that it can be, I don't know. Let's say he gets a new CEO into Twitter tomorrow. Does that stem the bleeding? It might, for briefly. I don't know.
It doesn't change the need to sell stock.
It doesn't.
Even if he's not CEO of Twitter.
Right. But we don't know how much stock he's sold.
Right.
And we don't know about the debt. We have no idea how much the revenues are down, how much money the company is losing. We don't know any of that. So it's sort of hard to say. But I think that when you're saying it's Tesla's sort of bill to pay, you're saying in terms of
Tesla shareholders have been on the hook because the only way he was not selling. Liquid enough, he had to pledge all his shares to buy this.
But here's one thing that's a little bit He's been selling 3.6 billion the other day. Maybe he sold a few more billion. This is a gigantic company. Shouldn't it be able to withstand a few $1 billion?
Right.
Of
In this market, no. As simple as that. In a normalized market, and especially if you're in a bull market, yeah, absolutely, this would be no issue. Tesla stock would be doing just fine. But in this market, where there's a lack of capital around, where people are already very scared about any stocks, and especially about growth stocks like a Tesla, no, putting billions of dollars potentially in selling pressure on a stock in a given day, even if it's Tesla, is too much for it to handle in this sort of market.
Except
that it's from the CEO.
Right, which is a totally different signal to his shareholders.
But does the signal, I don't like Tesla anymore? Or, oh, God, I need the money for something else?
I need the money for something else.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm in agreement with that across the board. So, you've got to let these bears run their victory lap. They've got a bit here to run their victory lap around Tesla. They've been wanting to see this stock go down for a long while now, okay? They've had to be on the sideline for years. Tim, Dan, Gordon Johnson, a lot of these folks have been talking negative about Tesla for years. And they finally are getting their shot to run a victory lap in this situation, right? And they've had to watch this stock just absolutely explode. But at the end of the day, remember, the longs have made tremendous sums of money in the stock, have been able to take crazy profits in the stock or are up crazy amounts of money. The only folks that aren't are the ones that just got in the past 12 to 18 months. And those aren't even long-term investors. Those are just people that have been very short-term here, okay? And so I just think that's a little food for thought in this whole situation. And anyways, much love as always. Appreciate you guys. And 19,900 plus subscribers. Who's going to be the 20,000th subscriber on the channel? That's a good question. And have a great day.